Hey, G, what's going on?
Hey, Monique, just checking in, seeing how you're doing.
I'm doing good. I am recording my new podcast.
Cool. What's this podcast about?
Well, this week's topic is awareness, and we're going to hear from women who have chosen more awareness in their lives. G, have you ever had a moment of awareness, like an epiphany that profoundly changed the way you live or make choices in your life?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think, moving to New York, I just knew I had to move there. It took me 3 years, but I did it. And I ended up living in New York for over a decade.
I love it. All right, I got to go because I got to get this done. Okay, bye. Hey everyone, my name is Monique DeBose, and this is the More with Monique podcast. I'm a singer, writer, and a spiritual coach, and my passion in life is to inspire women to choose more for themselves. Do you ever feel like you need to stay small to stay safe, or that it's not okay to express all of who you really are? Well, I've been there, and if I'm super honest, a part of me is still there. That's why I decided to start this podcast, to shine a light on the stories of real women who, in really big ways and gentle smaller ways, have chosen more for themselves. I really appreciate you tuning in today and coming on this journey with me. Each week, we'll explore choosing more of something different, and today I want to focus on awareness. Awareness can be defined in many ways. In Buddhism, it's about turning our attention to what we are experiencing and basically remembering that we need to keep waking up. Awareness is also another word for consciousness or mindfulness. In other words, to be present in a moment. We're going to talk to two people today who had deep realizations that changed the course of their lives. My first guest today is Kendra, aka Yo Fly Aunty, a public speaker, podcast host, and perhaps most importantly, an advocate for bringing middle age into the modern age. Kendra's here to tell us a story about simply tying her dad's shoes and how that became a pivotal moment that shifted her awareness and, in turn, her entire life.
My name is Kendra, and I choose more awareness.
Kendra, how are you?
I'm doing well, Monique. How are you?
I'd love to hear the story about your dad and what that brought forward. Will you set the stage and share that story?
My father was very influential in my life. I am blessed to be a fourth generation HBCU college graduate. And my father was the cornerstone of that. Unfortunately, he passed away when I was 13 years old. And he was never sick in his life until he passed away. So he never missed a day of work. He'd always been, at the forefront of all of our lives. And he got sick in September and he was gone in October. And I'd never seen him have any kind of incident. He asked me to tie his shoes because at the time he had gotten so sick that he couldn't even bend down to tie his shoes. And he was not even 40 at the time. So I was angry with him because I was on my way out the door to hang out with my friends. And it was the last time I saw him healthy. And it changed me from that point on until today. It offered me a different level of awareness because it made me aware that I needed to be present for every moment.
What did your dad have that would take him so quickly? And paint the picture of your life a little bit.
Yeah. So he was a diabetic, but it was hereditary. So he got an infection that turned into an infection that took over his whole body. He was healthy. I mean, if you looked at him, of course, he's healthy. He exercised every morning at 5 a.m. He's an educator. Both of my parents were educators. My father taught fifth grade. My mother taught fifth grade. I am an only child. And they were both very present in my life. And because they were educators, I feel as though that's where I still kind of landed in that space, even though I'm not like in the classroom educator.
So will you just like take me into that space of being that 13-year-old girl getting ready to go out with your friends and having your dad stop you and the awareness that happened in that moment.
When he asked me to come back and tie his shoes because his body was, starting to have issues, he was going to the hospital, but I didn't know that. And so he asked me to come back and tie his shoes. I, in retrospect, of course, look back and think of it as a dad in the 80s. He wasn't all in touch with his feeties. He wasn't in touch with his feelings in a way that he could say, come back and let's have a moment. I want to talk to you, and I'm afraid or I'm scared. But all of that transpired in that moment. And I came back to tie his shoes. And my father, as I said, he was that guy, he was dressed very well. And he didn't even have on socks with his dress shoes. So all of these things, like in this little moment, that it changed my entire life. That I was walking out the door with my best friend in the neighborhood and came back as he asked me to tie his shoes. And I'm telling you, I was pissed. And to know that when I walked away from him, I would never see him alive again.
Can I ask you one question before we move there?
Mm-hmm.
How did you realize that we are all connected after your dad passed?
At 13, I certainly didn't realize how big it was, but I realized that the brevity of life, the fragility of it, things that most young people aren't aware of, immediately brought a connectivity into my life with others, with the understanding that this is all of our journey to come into this life and to have our experiences in Earth School. And we will transition out, all of us. And so it brought that awareness to me at a very young age.
How has this moment of awareness that life is fragile, how has that shaped how you live your life? So from that moment of 13, when dad makes his transition in October, was that awareness implemented like immediately?
Yes, of course, I didn't have the language for it, but it made me put my foot on the gas, like immediately put my foot on the gas. And now it's just me and my mama and the dog, right? So I'm thinking, okay, I have to be here for her. But she was looking at me like, no, I still need you to be a child. So because of that, I went from, I'm just living my life as a 13-year-old to everything that I could possibly want to do. I have done it. And if I have not done it, I'm going to do it, or I am in the process of doing it. It made me fearless.
Does that mean you didn't have fear anymore because it was such a great loss? You're like, if I can lose my dad or life can end immediately, I have nothing to fear anymore? Or was it, I'm afraid still, but I know what happens if I don't take action?
I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Scared, I'm going to do it anyway without all of the background information that I may need. Even if I didn't succeed at whatever it was that I was trying to do, I still succeeded.
Because you did it. You took the steps. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still that way now.
Stepping on the gas, full throttle, whatever, all the time is it not sustainable? Is that a good way to put it?
It's not sustainable for me. And even if I don't ever take my foot all the way off the gas, but it's not sustainable for me. When did I become aware of that? Probably when I became a mother. I faced a lot of challenges, of course, as we all do as grown folks. I am a cervical cancer survivor. I was told that I wasn't going to have a child, and I have 2. I have 10 pregnancies, and I have 2 sons. Yeah. And once my first son got here, I realized there has to be a different way for me. Cancer was the beginning of it, I am certain. But it had to be a different way for me to push forward and fight through things and not always feel as though I have to go 100 miles an hour, because I needed to have the awareness to be present for him.
Yeah.
And for me as a mother and for me as a person.
Yeah. Did the experience of losing your dad at 13 and the awareness that came from that, did that help you when you were given the diagnosis of cervical cancer?
I don't know if I was aware at that time that it did, but you saying that, absolutely. There were times then that I didn't know if I was going to make it, because the choice was for a very young person. I was 25 at the time. I was trying to save my options and my life. So save my options to have children. So I didn't even know if I wanted to be a mother, but I knew I wanted to survive and have the opportunity to decide for myself. So another level of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, as you said that, thinking about my father passing at 13, I just always come back to that because it changed me in such a way that it felt like I grew probably maybe 20 years older overnight, because things that, would brown me up, I wasn't interested anymore. It was like, whatever time I have here, I'm going to do what I'm sent here to do.
What advice do you have for women, and how can they become more aware?
Grant yourself permission, grant yourself grace, allow yourself the space to go full throttle, unapologetically, in whatever space you occupy. I think the allowing, when you say allow, it sounds like, well, someone's keeping you from it. Well, who's keeping you from it? Is it you? If you have anything that's on your heart that you feel as though you should be doing, do it. Even if you start doing it in your mind, write it, speak it. Allow yourself the gift of being your absolute most authentic self, to be present in your own life, not just present for others, but present for yourself. Be a gift to your damn self.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing this. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for letting me have a moment to check in.
Hey, it's Monique here. I'm still putting the finishing touches on my new album, You Are the Sovereign One, but I wanted to share a preview of my new single, Brown Beauty, which is available now to pre-save on Spotify, Apple Music, and everywhere else. Brown Beauty is a love song I wrote to my younger self and all women of color. If you want to check out more of my music and my world, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok at I am Monique DeBose.
Take a look at yourself. See the queen that I see. You have everything you've ever needed. No one can touch what you've got. Brown beauty, brown beauty, brown beauty.
Hi, I'm Monique DeBose, and this is More with Monique. My second guest is a young adult named CJ, who I've known since they were born. When I first met CJ, CJ was named Amia, and our culture identified her as a girl. I'll let CJ tell you how they became aware of who they are and what happened next. It's a powerful story.
My name is CJ, and I choose more awareness.
CJ, what does it mean to you to be transgender?
Being yourself, just knowing who you are as you and expressing yourself in a way that you feel comfortable doing. So I like to not put labels on myself, just be my authentic self. And that's what being trans means to me.
What does it mean to feel like you're something other than the gender you were identified as at birth?
Obviously at birth, I didn't know who I was. And then I just wanted to be like the boys because I like video games. I liked roughhousing. I like doing things that's out of the norm of being a girl. But I didn't think to follow the social norms of what to be a woman is, like what they expect you to do. Like wear dresses at special occasions or do my hair for special occasion, all that. But while growing up, I realized that I don't have to do these things. I can just wear what I want to wear and be fine with that. And I was going back and forth with it so people don't either get mad at me or yell at me or something. But now I'm this is a man's thing. No woman can do this. I'm oh, I'm myself and I can probably do this. But I was still having the thought of you still have to be a girl just to make your family happy.
Grade, you were having the thoughts, I don't like what I have to do, and I'm aware I'm making choices or not speaking up fully as myself to make sure I don't make people who are close to me upset.
Yeah, I was just unaware about what people thought. I was getting more insecure about my body because it was growing and going through some changes, getting my period and growing boobs. But I think I didn't just care about what people think. Once my body was growing, I was just, but then again, I came out as non-binary because I thought I was not identifying as a female and not identifying as a male. But I wasn't sure, honestly. I don't think I'm being my true self. I'm being non-binary. So I came out as a trans man my sophomore year. And just throughout my sophomore, junior, I just identified as that. And I did go through the stages of depression, feeling dysphoric, being uncomfortable with my body, just thoughts and ideas on what I wanted to do with my transition, how I wanted to go. And it kept changing.
You had thoughts about making physical changes to your body. What were the thoughts about?
So my first thought was taking testosterone. And that started in ninth grade, my second semester. I saw people on YouTube taking testosterone and the effects and the benefits of it. And I went to the UCLA hospital to talk about my transition plans and all of that. And before we got there, we had to answer questions just to see what's up. And one of the things I didn't learn about is that I can get diabetes from taking testosterone. They just say if you take testosterone, since your family has a long line of diabetes, this could happen to you. You may end up having a stroke. And I'm just oh, wow. Okay. And then again, there's my dad and my mom.
So you've never taken testosterone to date?
No, I never taken it. My mom's worried about it. And when she's worried, I'm worried. So getting testosterone is up there. But then when my mom talks about it, it's just, oh God, I need to think about this again. But in my heart, I want to take testosterone. And I also want to have top surgery. I don't want bottom surgery, which is penis surgery. And for my top surgery, I thought of having breast reduction because I wasn't sure of the results of getting your breast removed completely. Later on, I was not happy. I just want to get rid of these things. I don't want them no more. And when I thought I figured myself out in ninth grade, I wanted to try chest binding, which is a way to bind your chest to make it look flat. You can't really wear it over 8 hours because it will hurt your back and your chest. And trans people always say this on the internet, don't wear this over 8 hours. And the thing is, I've worn it over 8 hours and broke so many rules, but I've learned.
You're doing great.
Okay. Thank you.
Are you comfortable about being trans with cisgender people? And were you ever scared to talk about it?
Ooh. So I came out to my parents not as perfectly as, a regular coming out would be. I just blurted out, I'm not binary and I'm pansexual. And they were just sitting on the couch and they were confused. And I didn't know what, I was okay, I'm going upstairs now. So they didn't know, because when I found out these terms, I was like, oh, they probably know. But then they told me, like, CJ, we don't know. I'm like, oh, okay. But I was nervous coming out to my friends. And I told them during lunch, like, would you guys care if I was like non-binary? Like, I didn't identify as a boy or girl. Like, yeah. And then I had to come out to more people, and I had to tell my teachers, and I had to tell my counselor, and they were all accepting. And I was surprised. And the school's even like great, because they'll allow trans people, non-binary people, gender non-conforming to change their name and have it in the grading system and all that. And I think it's even cooler that for my diploma, I could put whatever name I want. So I had some doubts on like coming out to my friends, but then again, I was like, well, if they don't accept me, then I lose my friends.
It sounds like the real theme in our conversation is about accepting yourself fully as you. When did you become aware that you weren't the typical definition of girl as society defines it?
I guess I didn't feel comfortable just being like this, being out of the spectrum of man and woman. So I thought I belonged there. And I was like, I was confident. I was okay with that. I was fine with that. Until the pandemic happened, I was thinking like, I honestly am not being like a boy, but to me, being a boy or being a girl or being a person means you're just being yourself. Like, I just thought that I don't need to like follow the stereotypes of being a boy or a girl. So I was thinking, am I non-binary? Am I gender non-conforming? What am I? And I just thought maybe I'm just myself, because I don't like labels entirely, and I don't like really putting it on myself. And when I put a label on me, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't want this. I just don't really know what my sexuality or my gender is. And that's fine, but I'll still keep the word trans or transgender, because that's who I believe I am.
Have you had crushes, attraction towards both male and female? Or has it been more one sex, or is it whoever CJ is attracted to?
I dated someone who is a male for 4 years, and we broke up. But I just been liking men since I've been mostly seeing like my mom, my dad, and my other families and relationships, mostly that. I never really got to see like anybody in my family that is with a man, with another man, or one with another woman. So I just thought that it wasn't like a boy or a girl. It was just us and us, and just loving each other. But then I did have crushes on my friends, and they were boys and they were girls. And I never really had like a crush on like somebody in between. But I would say I would date somebody who is non-binary. Like, I came out as pansexual, which is you love boys, you love girls, you love nobody, you love anybody. It doesn't really matter. And then I was like, I mostly like men. So am I a gay man? And I was fine with that. Like, I mostly like men, so I'm gay. And then now I'm like, am I queer? Like, I don't really know. It's just, I don't really have a label for my sexuality. And then I realized that I found another person who was like that. I thought they were lesbian, but they said, I don't really know. I don't really have to have a label for my sexuality. I just love whoever I want. And I'm like, that sounds like me, but I still like men. That's my preference. Like, you can be bisexual, like men and women. You can also like non-binary people as a bisexual person. The whole point of aromantics and asexuals, they don't have to love. They can love, but they don't have to. You don't have to like follow the rules and all of that, or knowing the definition of something. And yeah.
It just sounds to me like you are really someone who is aware that we get to define ourselves, and that definition doesn't have to be static. It can be dynamic, because as we grow, we have more information that impacts how we see ourselves. And what I'm hearing you really say, though, is you are you. And it all starts from there. So my last question for you is, what advice would you give a younger person dealing with questions or dealing with their gender and or sexual identity?
My advice is there's no rush into figuring yourself out. You have plenty of time to know who you are. And it is a hard journey to figure yourself out as you learn new things from the LGBTQ community or anywhere. And that's fine if you identify as one thing or the other. Honestly, it doesn't really matter who you come out to be because you'll just be you at the end of the day. And you'll live as you at the end of the day. So just be yourself, love yourself. And if you're struggling to do that, you'll figure it out. It's not an easy process, but you'll get there.
You're such a gift, and I'm really happy that you got to share your story. I think you're going to really help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Hi, it's Monique again. Did you know that we have an amazing community of women choosing more over on Facebook? It's the place where we continue the conversation around topics discussed in this show and where we support each other in achieving more. Come on over and join us. Here's a clip of the song that inspired this group and this podcast. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you over in the Facebook group, Women Choosing More.
They said this life is completely my choice, and though I try to believe, I can't hear my voice. When I'm faced to decide how to live my life, I chose safe. Instead of trusting dreams are waiting for me to put the pedal to the metal and just receive, my mind fills with the spills of insecurity. I chose doubt. Oh, I need a minute to myself. I'm gonna take my ovaries off the shelf and be the woman that I know I am. Why live small? That's not my plan. I choose more. I choose me.
Now it's time for the Choose More Minute. So what does awareness mean to you, and how do you stay aware? One tiny practice that I love that keeps me present is breath, breathing yourself into the present moment. So let's take a moment to do that now. We'll do a 5-second inhale, a 5-second hold, a 5-second exhale, and a 5-second hold. This practice seems so simple that it might not even feel like it's worth doing, but trust me, it is. Ready? Inhale. 3, 4, 5. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. See what comes forward in this moment. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you all next week. I love you. Peace out. Our producers are Larry Carlat and Hannah Randall. Today's episode was edited and mixed by Ronnie Mickelson, and our theme song was written by yours truly. You can download More with Monique on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Tell 1,000 friends. Hope you have a great week, and remember to
be the woman that you know you are. Don't you settle, girl, travel far. Let's use more. Let's use more. Let's choose more. Da-da-ba-ba-ba, do-ba-da-da, da-da-ba-ba-ba. Da-da-ba-ba-ba-ba, boom-dim-da-da-ba-ba-ba.